Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's the Black Empress here, coming back to you again from the Awoken House of Consciousness. Please like, subscribe and share so we can grow this platform and reach everyone that needs to hear the message that I'm sharing through this channel. Today's video is slightly different. And I don't think it will be so much focused on my ex or the abuse. I think enough has been said on that. I might make referrals to it here and there, but that's as far as I'm gonna take it. I just want to start sharing the learnings that resulted from the relationship. Because 9 years is a long time, guys. Like, yo. And those were some of my best years. And that's 9 years that I can't take back. And I guess that's how my soul intended. That's what the universe intended. Because one thing you need to realize, one thing I learned, one of the biggest lessons I learned in this relationship was that things don't happen to you. They happen for you and because of you. So, for me and because of me. It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. If you were to say that to someone who's abused and tell them, listen, this person is treating you like this because of you, they would feel offended, they would feel attacked, they would feel hurt. So in a moment, I'm going to explain how, things like this happen because of us and for us. So one thing about me, I believe in a benevolent universe. I believe in a loving God. I believe that all things are always working together for my good. Even when it doesn't make sense for me, even when it hurts, even when I don't understand, I've just decided that, you know what, not just decided, but I've learned that things are always happening together for my good. And I had other intentions for today's video, but the events and the occurrences of the last few days are what has made me... Sorry, today I'm not in a tree, I'm in my meditation garden. So I'm sitting on a chair and the chair is sinking into the ground. So yeah, it's affecting the aspect ratio, but it's fine. So I believe in a benevolent God, in a benevolent universe. I believe things are always working together for my good. Thank you, baby. Even if I don't understand, and even if it doesn't make sense to me or to anyone else, but it's just a matter of time before I realize.
Hi, guys.
That's my
Love
daughter.
You. Hi.
So it's just a matter of time before I realize why. And in this case, it was 9 years before I realized why. And I've been learning that, the thing that you are called to will most likely be the thing you struggle with the most. That thing that hurts you, that affects you the most, that does the most to you. For those of you who are wondering what your calling is, that's where your calling. I've been on a journey where, since I discovered I was a so-called healer, to those who know me, I don't identify as a healer per se. I identify more as a transformational healing facilitator. Transformational because, and I've seen this with the people I've worked with, your life will be transformed, once we walk the journey together and I hold space for you in the way in which I do, and I teach you how to heal yourself. Your life will never be the same, and that's no glory to me. That's all on you. All I do is I teach you and I show you how to do it. So when I found out that, and it's only with time that I realized, no, man, I'm just a healing facilitator. I'm not a healer. Because for me, I realized that it's not me doing the healing. I just teach you how to heal yourself and you heal yourself. So when I realized that at the time I identified as a healer. So when I found out that I'm called to be a healer, man, I wanted to heal everybody. Like, I have certain gifts where I see things, I dream, I know things, I feel things and things like that. And one of the things that excited me about being a so-called healer was the fact that I could finally save my family. Like, my aunts, my cousins, my mom especially. I was like, man, I'm going to save everyone now. And funny enough, my gifts would be fully operational around everyone else but my family. Like, it would almost be like, okay, we thought she was this great healer. Why is it that, she doesn't see anything when it comes to us or feel anything or whatever? And the lesson in that for me was that I wasn't called to heal my family. I was called to heal for my family. And as I heal the bloodline. I heal my whole family just by me healing. Because what you need to understand is when you heal, you don't just heal for you, you heal for the ones before you. You heal for the ones after you. And I was taught that my focus need not be on healing my family, but it needed to be on healing me. And through that, my family would be healed. So it was through that lesson that I learned that I have a savior complex. Yep. And these are hard conversations for me to have. These are difficult things for me to acknowledge and reveal about myself. Because ever since I've been in the public eye, I've always, given a certain impression. I've always given the people what they want. For most of my adult life, I was a so-called slay queen. Because, that's what people like. They like good-looking people, or at least that's what I thought. Now that I've chosen to be myself and authentic and, I live a whole different life and hang out with different people, I've realized, man, there's more to life than being a slay queen. And I just say slay queen for lack of a better word. For me, it was just a matter of, I've got to be perfect. Every time I go out, I'd wear makeup, I'd wear my best clothes, and like you'd never catch me looking shabby. So that was me. So for me to now come raw with no makeup, and it's been a journey. That's one of the things I learned from my ex. I've now learned that what he had for me was not love. It was more of an obsession. And I will do a video on that, on the difference between love and obsession. So every time I refer to him loving me, I'll probably say quote unquote, because I'm referring more to his obsession for me as opposed to his love for me. So one of the things he taught me was to just love and accept myself as I am, without the filters, without the makeup, without the fancy clothes and all of that. Like he would tell me how beautiful. That's when he wasn't cursing me out and telling me what a horrible person I was. He would tell me how beautiful I was, and he would be like, man, you don't need makeup. You look beautiful just the way you are. And it took me a long time to believe that, as it was hard for me to believe anything he said, because with the same mouth, he would praise me, he would curse me. He would go from telling me to how amazing I am to telling me how I'm good for nothing, how I'll never amount to anything. and how he was better off without me. So it was hard to believe, but eventually I believed it, and I learned to love myself, and I learned to be comfortable with presenting myself to the world as I am. So for me to expose that the so-called great Tanya was being abused for all these years, like, that's not easy for me to share. But I've learned that, it's not our moments of greatness or our strength that necessarily preaches to the world, but it's in sharing our weakness. It's in being vulnerable that we can have a bigger impact. I always imagined my YouTube channel will be this powerful, inspiring channel where I come and, I share, I teach, because that's one of my gifts, is to teach. I never imagined my YouTube channel being a matter of me coming at my lowest and sharing such painful and intimate things. I always imagined it would be a matter of me saying, girl, get up, you can make it, do this, do that. And that's how I always envisioned it. So I've been laughing to myself since I started doing these videos, like, the universe got jokes. My son is practicing piano in the background and it's distracting me a bit. And I'm going to try by all means to focus because I don't want to stop. Because if I do, I might just not continue. So yeah, I'm going to try and focus. Yeah, so I always imagined I would have this amazing YouTube channel where I'd be all dolled up, and presenting this facade to the world and talking about how great my life was and how great your life can be too. I never imagined sharing or teaching from my pain, sharing and teaching from my weakness, sharing and teaching from my failures, of which it's a failed relationship in this instance. So yeah, this is not easy for me to do, but I'm doing it because I realize that that's what I'm called to do. Even when I look at how effortless it is for me to make these videos, for years I tried to do videos, but it just felt forced and difficult. And you can even tell if you go back to some of my videos, it's almost like I was putting on a show. But these videos I'm doing now are raw, they're uncensored, and it's just me. It's just me coming to you as I am and hoping that what I say resonates for someone and helps someone. So the idea of me presenting myself to the world as this great teacher, this powerful healer, it was mostly egocentric. When I realize now that it was from a place of ego that I thought I have this calling and I have these gifts and this is how I'm going to share them with the world. I'm going to go and save the world. I'm going to go and rescue, everyone. And yeah, the hero's complex, like I said. And God is like, no, you need saving. You ain't saving nobody. You need saving yourself. And one of the reasons I know this to be true is since I've acknowledged that my healing journey has different times, it has different seasons. And I've noticed that I always get clients for the place that I'm in, for the place that I'm at. And I haven't had clients probably in a year. If I've consulted, maybe it was unplanned or, just helping someone who was in a desperate position or whatever, but I haven't consulted probably in a year. And it's because I was going through my own healing process. And after I went through the healing process, I entered a season of building, where I have to now set up a Awoken Center of Consciousness and have the place ready so I can work from it. So the building is not completely done, but it's very well near the end. And already I see the universe putting me and propelling me into a new season, which is a season of going back to be a transformational healing facilitator. Because before this, I even started to question, wait a minute, yes, I was told I have a calling. You know, the way we find out in African spirituality you have a calling, they'll be like, unabantu abadala, you know, like you've got ancestors on you or whatever. And then the natural assumption is like, okay, so you have to be a sangoma or umtandazeli or whatever, you know. And it's almost cookie cut in that, okay, so the fact that you have a calling means your life should go this way and that. And with me from day one, my ancestors made it clear that there was nothing cookie cut about my calling. There was nothing cookie cut about my journey. I mean, yeah, I was with an African ancestral calling, and yet 3/4 of my mentors were not even Black. The practices that I was taught are not necessarily African spirituality practices, but they're spiritual practices all the same. You know, I went to Twasa and I didn't last 2 weeks. My ancestors were like, yeah, you're done. You've gotten what you needed to get here. You're out. And when I left, I was told, hey, you know, you're leaving before, like you're leaving of your own accord. It's only been 2 weeks. This and that is going to happen. And needless to say, nothing happened because I was being obedient and following on the journey that my ancestors had me on instead of, you know, listening to the fear-based advice I was getting from the people around me. So I realized that, okay, so I went through a process of healing, and then I went through a process of building. And then I think a week ago, before the episode with my ex, that then prompted me to start doing these videos. And now that I realize it, that's probably the only reason that happened. So I could start doing these videos. Because I'd always been that passive person that this person did to me, well, you know, God will vengeance is mine, says the Lord. I've always ascribed to that scripture, and I've never sought vengeance. So even when people came and told me the things he's accused me for, I've always told them, yeah, he told you, he's right, it's true, you know, without even bothering to hear what it is. So I realize now that had he not done because for me it was just so drastic and so uncalled for. I guess my reaction as well was drastic, and I guess it was what I should have been doing all along. So I'm grateful to him for that, because had he not done that, I would still have been the passive Tanya who thought she could save everyone, who was always trying to put her best foot forward and give the world the impression that I have it all together, that I have it all figured out and I'm living the perfect life. But thanks to him, I'm now able to share my truth, my real truth with the world. And that's how vulnerable I've decided and I've chosen to be. So yeah, I went through the healing, I went through the building. And then now, before the incident with my ex, one of my clients called me, and I haven't consulted with him in over a year. Funny enough, most of my clients are actually couples. So he's like, no, I want to come through with my wife and the kids, you know, is it okay, and whatnot and whatnot. And they came through. And so they were just coming to chill and visit. But before I knew it, we were having a consultation. So that was my first consultation probably in over a year. And when I had that, I was like, it's like something in me was awakened, and I started just reminiscing on how much I loved being a healing facilitator, on how much I loved sharing my experiences and the things I've learned, and how much I missed it. Before I know it, another client who I haven't consulted with in over No, with her it was months because she actually came through and did a consultation. She was the first client to come through to the property. So she rings me up again and she's like, I need a session. So we did a telephonic session and she was like, I actually need to make an arrangement with you for my monthly sessions because I realize that I'm only coming to you when things go bad or when I'm in crisis. But I want to be more proactive and schedule monthly consultations, just so that to keep things in check. So that's client number 2. And then this is all in a matter of weeks. And for me, I'm not a person, and that's a lot, in a matter of 1 week. And for me, that's a lot because the nature of my work, the way I do things, I don't push clients as in quantities of clients, because it's important to me how much I give off myself and how I give off myself. So I can very easily only work with 4 clients a month. And for me, that's a lot because of the amount of work I put into it and things like that. And because I'm called to change makers and I'm called to other healers, I know that my touching the life of 4 people, for me in a month is like I've touched 1,000 people, because those people have people that are waiting on them, people that they impact. So for me, it's never been a numbers game. So for me to now get a consultation and 2 inquiries in 1 week felt like a lot. And then before the week is over again, another couple again that have been my client for years. The wife texts me and she's like, we're thinking of coming through to have a session on Saturday. Can we come through and whatnot? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You can come through. And it's funny how no one tried to schedule a consultation to me before now, and even if they had, I wouldn't have been able to because I was so busy, getting the Airbnb ready. So she's like, no, I need to make an appointment. And I'm like, cool, you can come through. That's 3. And then now, just before I did the video, there's a lady who's not officially a client of mine. I now see her as a sister and as a friend. I met her when I went on one of the workshops she was doing. And I've never really consulted with her. She's come onto the property because I wanted her to help me figure things out. And I just shared what I shared with her as spirit-led, and as I downloaded from spirit. And then out of the blue, she's like, I was wondering, if I could come for a session. And for me, that just sealed it. And it's only after that I realized, oh, okay, I'm back in the game. But now when I look at what it took for me to get in the game, it took a lot. And even if I had a do-over, it would probably still happen the same way for me to become the kind of person I've evolved into. Like, I've learned so much about myself. And not just the pretty stuff, not just the great stuff. Because even for the fact that I stayed in an abusive relationship for 9 years, that speaks volumes about me. And I've done a lot of soul searching since then. And I will do other videos where I will share about how the things I discovered about myself from being in that kind of a relationship. So I just felt so encouraged, and I was like, okay, because I got to a time where I was questioning, am I even supposed to work with people? Because since I got this farm, I started growing plants and planting stuff, and it brought me so much joy. And I was like, what if that's my calling? What if I'm just meant to plant stuff? Because I know I have another calling as well that's linked to the environment and things like that, and I was ready to walk away to working with people. But now, and I've never been someone to chase after stuff. I've always believed what's mine will find its way to me. And for me, for my clients to be coming out of the woodworks like this, granted, they'll always check in here and there, how you doing, you know, and I'll check in on them sometimes when I had time. But for them to now come, and even for them to be in a season and in a place where they are ready to resume with our sessions, that speaks volumes for me. And that makes me know that I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place, and I'm excited for my clients because, man, it's like they're going to be meeting a whole new me, and they are the ones that will benefit the most from, you know, my relationship, or the end of it, actually, because the person I've become, the wisdom I have amassed through the 9 years, you know, the just the way my life has been transformed is just, it's something that I'm ready to share the world with. And I think now I'm ready to do it from a place not of ego, but a place of vulnerability, a place of authenticity, to say that, man, you know, I'm just struggling with life just like you are. I have the same problems just like you do, if not more. You know, I've learned this and that, yes, but I'm human too, and I'm also having human experiences. So, yeah, you know, so I'm really excited about that. So my intention for this video was to share how, you know, as healers, we think, and sometimes people think that we have it figured out. We don't. We don't, and that's God's honest truth. That's why you must never seek for your breakthrough from a healer. That's why you must never seek for your answers from a healer. All the answers you need, all the questions you have, the answers, they lie here with you. They lie here with you. Because even for this thing to end, for me, it took me putting my foot down and saying enough. It took me putting my foot down and saying, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I see for myself. I want better. I deserve better. So it's important that you guys know and understand that these people you're looking up to, even on social media, you know, people barely share when they are going through the most. In most instances, people are sharing how great they are doing. And I just think of when I used to share and do the same, and I would put videos like when we traveled, and people would see the amazing places we've traveled to, the fun things it looks like we're doing. But what they wouldn't know is probably if I didn't pay for that trip wouldn't have happened. Or, you know, he's been sulking the whole trip and not talking to me. Or people wouldn't know that he's threatening to leave and to just go and leave us there. People wouldn't see the struggle. They'll just see these great pics and be like, oh, wow, you know, she's got such a beautiful, amazing family. You know, she's probably happily married and things like that. So, yeah, it's really taken a lot for me to share. And I think it's part of my ancestors' way of humbling me. Like, they are always humbling me. I mentioned earlier that I used to be, you know, a slave queen or whatever. And one way they put an end to that was my teeth just started falling out. I started losing my teeth, and if some of you notice, you'll see that I'm missing one right in front here. So yeah, you try being a slave queen with broken teeth and missing teeth from your mouth and see how that works out for you. And, you know, I have no issue with that. For me, that's how my ancestors are. Like, they have a certain way of dealing with me, and I guess they know me better, and they know what's effective and what isn't. And I guess in this instance, it was important for me to learn humility before I could present myself as a healing facilitator to the world. They needed to humble me. That's why the way they've entered me into this thing of presenting myself through the world has been in my vulnerability, in my pain, in my weakness, in my failure of a relationship. That's my ancestors for you, and I love them for it. I mean, it's almost like the time when they wanted me to stop drinking alcohol. I would physically get sick. Every time I tried to drink alcohol, I'd get sick. And right there and then they made it clear that, no, you are not going to be taking any alcohol and I tried to challenge that decision several times, but I ended up just letting it go because I realized, man, and they explained to me why, not that there's anything wrong, but for me, they're like, no, you are not going to have that. And so I tried weed. Yeah, I tried to smoke weed because I was like, I have to have some relief, guys, come on, So I tried smoking weed and I almost choked to death. I even have it captured on video. Every single time I've tried to smoke weed, my lungs have literally shut down and I have almost choked to death. I was like, well, okay, looks like I can't have weed either. So now, I just get natural highs, and they've taught me other ways to cope. But yeah, they were not gonna let me do weed or alcohol as a way of coping. So as I share about the savior complex, I'm reminded of when my sister and I went and did ayahuasca and San Pedro. And even then, I was trying to save everybody. Like, when we did the ceremony, I was the first person to take the ayahuasca, to take the San Pedro, and I was not affected. For hours, people were responding and reacting and going crazy. And I went into healer mode, like full-blown healer mode, where I was going and helping everybody, holding space for people, helping those that were struggling and having a hard time. And I think it's also, I learned that it was also a matter of seeking approval, because what I realized was, after that, when people were back to their, when they were back to their right minds, everyone was coming and saying, thank you, for holding space for me to the way you did. When you came to me, I saw this and that. And when you spoke to me, this happened and things like that. And I realized that not only did I have a savior complex, but I was desperate for people's approval. And that's why I did the things I did. It was because I liked it when people would tell me how I impacted their lives. I liked it when people would tell me how their lives changed since they met me. And I've since learned that healing, it's not meant to be about that. And I think that's why my ancestors found it necessary to take me through this journey of teaching me these things, because that's not the kind of healer they want me to be. And the thing about seeking approval and everything, I actually judged myself and I was hard on myself about it. But then I've since learned that it stems from other hurt, from other traumas that then manifest as seeking approval and seeking validation. Because I never had that growing up. I shared about my stepdad. I shared earlier about how my relationship with my stepdad was. And I ended up committing 9 years of my life to a man who was just like my stepdad. And obviously there was something in me that attracted that. There was something in me that drew that kind of a person into my life. And I'll go back to what I started talking about, where I said that things happen because of you and for you. So there had to be something somewhere in me that drew the kind of energy, my ex's energy, into my life. And I take full responsibility for that. Because one of the things I've learned is that we are all just one unit, you know. And when you meet people, the different people you meet, the different relationships you have are just a reflection of you. They are a reflection of different versions of you. And what I realized was that my ex was, to a degree, a reflection of me. A part of me was angry, and angry mostly because of my childhood, angry mostly because of my upbringing. A part of me was very bitter. A part of me was probably even hateful. Even though I've never consciously seen myself as a hateful person, but the fact that I attracted my ex's energy means there had to be a part of me that was hateful. And that's how we connected. That's how we connected. And I take full responsibility for that. And I understand now that had I not had the relationship, I would have never seen those sides of me. I would have never identified with being that person. But the fact that I chose him and that's the person he was to me means on a subconscious level, I was the exact same person. And the reason why I say this is because as I started to change, as I started to grow, heal, and evolve, that's when the relationship ended, because he ceased to be a reflection of what I was, of who I was. So the need for him was not there anymore. So he was in my life because it was necessary. It was necessary for him to be in my life, do the things he did, trigger me in the way that he did, so that I could see sides of myself in a way that I didn't, that I could have only identified through having a relationship with him. So he was just playing a part. He was just playing a part. And what I need to understand now is why what he's doing now means for me. Because if me being a relationship with him for the 9 years was him playing a part, and then now the relationship is over, but I'm still having to deal with these things where he's concerned, I need my ancestors to help me understand what that's about. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the truth. Well, that's the truth from my understanding. Because I realized that initially I was a victim. I was a victim, and I used to cry and say, he's doing this to me. You know, I didn't realize he was doing it for me and because of me. I used to feel like he's doing this to me. Why is he doing this to me? And then I met a mentor who taught me that no, he's not doing anything to you. He's just being him. And then how you take it is up to you. And I was like, okay. And then I chose to look at it different. And I was like, okay, he's just doing him. He's not necessarily doing this to me. Whatever I allow is what he will do to me. So my way, at that time, I hadn't quite learned how to deal with it. So I think that was when I decided to shut down, that I won't let what he does affect me. And that's when I shut down. But then with time, I learned that no, it wasn't a matter of shutting down. When I started to ask myself, okay, why does it trigger me when he does this? Why does it trigger me when he says this? And I started looking deeper. And I started taking responsibility for my reaction to how the relationship was and the part that I played in the relationship. Because I need you guys to understand, just because I'm doing these videos and saying the things I am, I'm not saying that I was an angel. I'm not saying that I'm the better person, because I'm sure if you sit with him, he will tell you that, the ways in which I hurt him as well. So, because I even cheated on him at one point. I got tired of being told about how I was always cheating. So I literally told him, you know what, I'm going to have one just for you. And I cheated on him. And I told him years later. It's no secret. I've never, I've never been apologetic about it. I've never lied about it. I told him out straight, I cheated on you. I got tired of you accusing me. And I finally decided to make your wishes come true. So yeah, I wasn't a saint. And I think there are times when I would hurt him. I don't think I know. Out of my hurt and out of my anger, I would hurt him too, So when I finally said, no, man, what is my part in this? What role am I playing in this? That's when, for me, things started to change. That's when things started to change, when I took responsibility for my part in the relationship. Now, granted, there's no excuse for the way he treated me, but my way of taking responsibility was me being responsible for how I reacted to his behavior. Did I allow it to break me down? Did I allow it to define who I was? And when I started to not identify myself with the person he had made me up to be, that was the beginning of my freedom. And that was the beginning of my salvation where the relationship was concerned. And for me, I then understood why my ancestors kept saying, no, go back and forgive. Every time. I remember there's a time I planned a trip to go to the water. Like, I'm a water person. My ancestors are like water people, among other things. So whenever I want to connect with them on a deeper level, I go to the water. So I planned a whole trip to Durban just to tell them, guys, I am done. I literally told them, I'm coming to the head office. This is how serious I am about being done. Booked a flight, booked a hotel, went to Durban. I was there for about a week. And then after a week, thousands of rands after, they're like, chick, you came for nothing. Go back and forgive. I'm like, what? I felt like I wasted time. I wasted a trip and whatever. But what I've learned since then is the reason they kept saying, go back, go back, go back, is because the intention had not been realized yet. I hadn't fully grown from the relationship. I hadn't fully learned the lessons I was supposed to learn. And it was not just a matter of learning what I don't want or how I shouldn't be treated and stuff. It was a matter of learning the parts of me that he reflected by his behavior. It was a matter of learning who I was. Am I who he says I am, or do I define who I am for myself? It was a matter of me learning how to be the bigger person. I don't know if I can fully hold him responsible for his behavior, because he had his own demons to deal with. I mean, from his experiences as a child, even as a man. Granted, that is no excuse, but, all of us somehow, we end up behaving or acting a certain way because of experiences we have, or, things we go through. So, for me, I had to learn compassion. I had to learn unconditional love. So in one of the videos, I mentioned how I stopped loving him. What I meant by that was I stopped loving him as you should love a lover. But as another human being, I don't know if I can call it love, but I cared for him. He was the father of my children, and I cared for him as a human being. And my ancestors were trying to teach me compassion, to say, look at how wounded this man is, and look at how him being wounded, the kind of man it has made him to be. Can you still treat him like a human being in spite of how he's treating you? So it was only, so before I was a victim, then I went through a time where I started fighting back and, where I'll talk back and things like that. Then I went through a time of just being passive and just letting him be. Then I went through a period where I'd just ignore him, When he went on his things, I would just like, man, and I would ignore him. But it was only after I started to try to be compassionate towards him when he did what he did, where I still, tried to focus and see the best in him in spite of what he was doing. It was only then that eventually I was released from this relationship. And I say released because I was in it as a result of not just this being in my bloodline, but it had to do with karma as well. I don't know what I did, where, how in some past life, but I think it was karma as well, because when I came full circle, I was told beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had finally completed a karmic circle. So it might not have been that I did something or anything, but it could have been that for many lifetimes I have battled with the same thing, dating the same man over and over again. He just looks different. And because I wasn't learning the lessons my soul was supposed to learn, I kept repeating the cycle over and over again. So it was only once I learned those lessons that I could finally come to the end of the karmic cycle. What lessons did I learn? One, to be non-judgmental. I need you to understand that the first two videos I made, I probably made them from a place of pain, never a place of hate, because I'd like to think that I don't harbor any hate or malice in me. But they were definitely coming from a place of pain. And if there's anything I have learned, it's to have compassion. It's to have unconditional love. Now, granted, I didn't love him. So for me, love would mean something totally different. But I learned to accept him as he was. And I remember initially I used to give him ultimatums and say, if you don't change, if you don't do this and this, then I'm out. Until I realized that I have no right to ask or even expect him to change. Who he is has absolutely nothing to do with me, and it's his choice what kind of a person he needs to become. When I was able to accept him, oh no, my battery's about to go out. When I was able to accept him as he was, only then did the relationship come to an end. When I stopped expecting him to change, when I had unconditional love, when I was compassionate, when I tried to be more understanding, when I stopped judging him for being the man he was, only then. I'm going to wrap it up because my battery is almost dead. But yeah, so this is just to say, guys, you know what? Whatever it is you're going through, it's for a reason. And it's only once you realize that reason and once you learn the lessons that the universe is trying to teach you, it's only after that you can bring an end to whatever is happening. Now, if your life is physically threatened, if someone is toxic and hurting you intentionally, then I would say, try and remove yourself right away. But if it's a matter of the universe or your spirit guides trying to take you through a process, trying to teach you something, just learn the lesson. Trust me, that's all it takes. Learning the lesson, and you will be surprised at how things will change. You'll be surprised how things will abruptly come to an end. That's how it ended for me. I was even shocked at how easy it was for him to leave, given I'd been trying to get this man to leave for 9 years. Because it was after the first 2-3 months that I realized, whoa, what have I done? This is not the kind of man I want to be with. But for 9 years, I couldn't bring the relationship to an end. But it was only after I started making those changes and, looking back at myself and what this relationship meant for me, that the change came about. So yeah, yes, you might be in an abusive relationship. Yes, someone might be putting you through the most, but try and look and consult with your guides and see what that means for you. What is the purpose of that relationship? Do you stay or do you go? Because the problem with leaving these relationships before completing the cycle is that the next person you attract is just like the other person. You just end up dating the same person over and over again. They just look different because you're not learning the lessons. So the best way to bring these things to an end is to just learn the lessons. So once there's no need for the lessons, there's no need for the person who's giving the lessons. And that's how it ends. Well, at least that's how it ended for me. So yeah, that's something to think about. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if these videos resonate with you in any way. By all means, share them with people you think might benefit from the messages. And please, share your experiences in the comment section. Let's have conversations about this. It's not as clear cut as sometimes we paint it out to be. So let's talk about this. I'll respond to the comments in the comment section. So yeah, as usual, guys, Nithandwa Ndim, Camagu.